In New Zealand, millions of calves are born to our dairy breeds every year. Of these newly born animals, approximately half will be bull calves, many of which will be quickly taken from their mothers and be destined to have a brief life and a short trip to the freezing works. But others are more fortunate, and some of these will come under the care of farmers like Ray Morrell and his wife Anne. They raise young calves as a commercial proposition. Surrounded by orchards and other lifestyle blocks, the Morrells run a 12.5 hectare property up in the hills behind Tauranga, where the Kaimai Ranges blend into the Mamaku Plateau. For at least 3 months a year, this place becomes a haven for these young calves, and virtually a one-man operation, the success of which depends on a mixture of sound business sense, skilled animal husbandry, and a genuine affection for the animals being cared for. Welcome then to Suckers Unlimited. Trying to catch Ray Morrell at a leisure moment is not an easy proposition during the calf breeding season. From July he has a business which keeps him fully occupied 7 days a week. But if he does take a break, the chances are you'll find him in a paddock keeping an eye on what he calls his mates. It's easy to be sentimental about very young animals, only a few days old, but it is a business after all.
Being a small block, once the calves are 100 kg, we've got to get them out of here because we can only carry maybe 30 animals over the winter period. So, if we're doing 600 or 700 calves, obviously they've got to go to the market when they get up to weight. So I generally rear a percentage of Friesian bull calves. The Friesian bull calves are always the first to come in the season. This year I've got approximately 300 Friesian bulls. The farmers keep the Friesian heifers for their herd, and we get the bull calves, and then they tail off with the natural bull. So we then get into rearing beef calves like whiteface bulls, whiteface heifer calves, and I do have some Angus bull calves here for the beef market.
These calves are well on the way to completing the transition from a mainly milk diet to one of grass. But getting the animals safely through the first stages of infancy can be daunting without a lot of care and attention to detail.
And one of the objectives here is to minimise the losses in young calves. It's never nice, but where you've got live animals, you're always going to have the odd dead one, and some you've just got no control over. So I usually budget to lose 3% of animals maybe, which is, think if it's only 3 in 100. It's easy to do with young calves, but the last 3 seasons I've run it under 1% loss. So, I think that's a pretty good average.
It's not just that. Considering the number of calves passing through Ray's hands, it's a significant achievement. But it's no accident. Over 12 years in the calf rearing business, Ray has developed a regimen which seems to work really well. It's a system which begins with what is almost a daily chore through the season, picking up young calves from the farms that supply him.
This season I've got about 5 suppliers that I pick up from. I like to keep it to a minimum that I can, because the more sheds you go to, the more prone you are to pick up problems. My suppliers know what sort of quality calf I want, and we've got a good relationship. They won't give me anything that they know has got some illness with it, so I really look to pick up a good healthy calf, and it goes both ways. They supply me with a good calf, and some of these people that I'm picking up calves from I have done for the last 4 or 5 years. What I tend to do with my suppliers at the beginning of the season, we agree on a price, and I set a price which goes right through for the whole season. We try to work on a really good average price. Come early August, a lot of Friesian bulls and calves. As the later calves, there's not so much demand for, the price can drop at sales quite dramatically. We set a fair price, and we pay that price right through the season, and I tend to pick up every last calf from the farm rather than say, well, the price has dropped now so that I don't want them, and it just helps keep continuity of supply.
Most of Ray's present bunch of suppliers all farm within a short driving distance of his property, but in the past 2 years he has made an exception that takes him further afield.
We're nearly at Wakatani now, so this is the furthest that I've travelled for maybe 2 or 3 years, but in early days, when I'm going back 6 or 7 years, I used to travel from home to Wairaki. I did Ngatea for 2 years, so I have sort of travelled quite long distance. I went to Whangamata Road and Kinloch from home, so you know, you're sort of talking 2.5 hours each way on the road, so it's a long distance to transport calves, although you know they're all covered in and they're kept warm, and the transport's very important so that they don't get stressed.
The reason Ray has added this farm to his list is a simple one: the prospect of big, healthy calves, and helping somebody out comparatively new to farming.
I've got 14 altogether. I've got 11 bulls and 3 heifers.
Donna's actually from the city. She came from Wellington last season. Purchased this farm 2 years ago, so this is only her second season here. I'm fussy where I pick up from because, as I say, I don't want to take home bugs, and she does a really good job, you know. And you know, everything's clean, Virkon to kill the bugs, and you know, good quality calves. And it's important that they get the colostrum, and you know, that they're well looked after.
Ray came onto the farm at the beginning of the season because he buys the calves, and I've never dealt with him before. And as soon as I met him, I knew that he was really, really good with the calves. Very tender, very gentle, and he's actually helped me out because this is only my second year on the farm. So he's taught me a lot about calving as well.
Both Ray and Donna have similar attitudes to calf rearing. Minimising stress on young animals is important, hence the tractor ride out to Ray's transport. Less of a workout for Ray as well. Hefting 40 kilograms of calf isn't what you'd call light work.
Yeah, thanks for that.
He said to me that I've got a really clean shed. It's always good to hear good feedback from a person that's knowledgeable. And he's always telling me that I've got really good calves, they're nice and calm, and they're big calves, which is good because the cows have had a really good season this year.
You have people that love animals and people that aren't so keen on animals, I guess. She's obviously an animal person because she's very caring, and she, you know, looks at the calves and gives them their requirements. So it's just, I think it's either in you or it's not with animals, you know, and she's just an animal lover.
All ready to go, but there's one last thing for Donna to tend to. Ray will take his time over the 90-kilometre drive back to Tauranga.
When you cart calves, you've got to cart them like you're carrying eggs, really. You've got to be pretty gentle with them. They're only babies, and a lot of them are only 4 days old. It's important that they're not chilled out. You carry calves and chill them on the way home. You can, you know, end up with problems and stress, and which I think leads to scarring and all sorts of problems. So you don't have the time of the day to deal with a whole lot of sick animals. So it's in your own interest to make sure that you look after them so that you don't have the issues down the track.
Despite Ray's confidence in his suppliers, his first action on getting home is changing his boots. It's all part of an unrelenting battle to avoid contamination by what he simply calls the bugs. For the calves, it's just a relief to be back on solid ground.
When we get home, we load them off the trailer and they go straight into a shed. There's deep sawdust in the shed. There's only 10 animals to a 4 square metre pen, so they've got just over 1.5 square metres per animal. When they get home to the pen, they've got water available, clean water in the pens available to them. They've got meal, sodium benzoate and hay, so they've got everything in there that they really need. And a lot of people don't realise how much clean water that young calves drink, and the water needs to be clean. If you won't drink the water in your calf shed, well, the calves shouldn't drink it because, again, you can pick up a lot of bugs out of water, you know, out of dirty water.
There's a rite of passage for all new arrivals. From a business point of view, it's important to be able to identify successful growth rates and the suppliers whose animals do well. So tagging enables progress to be accurately assessed right from the start. Everything on Ray's property he built himself, including the purpose-designed calf shed. It's 5-star accommodation for animals only a few days old. To keep them dry and warm, the pens sit on a bed of shavings over half a metre deep. Each pen is partitioned off by solid plywood surrounds, and the shed itself is sited and constructed to provide a draft-free but well-ventilated environment.
4-day-old babies, they've got to be treated like babies. I mean, it just starts from the transportation, the stress, the bedding, the environment. Really, they are really finicky to rear young in those early stages.
The best way to deal with animal health issues is to try and prevent them in the first place. Like all his equipment, Ray's transportation gets a daily workout from the hot water blaster immediately after use. Back in the shed there are some bemused young calves about to begin the gradual process of having delicate digestive tracts adjusted from mother's milk to a milk replacement. And that's a discovery that lies ahead tomorrow morning. Ray Morell's morning routine starts around 5 a.m. and there's a bunch of hungry guests waiting for a feed. So the first daily chore is to get the fire started in preparation of a nice warm breakfast. It's early August and there's a hard frost on the ground. The sun won't appear for a while yet, but already some of those demanding guests are stirring and letting Ray know in uncertain terms it's time to eat. While the fire gets going, there's time for a quick check on the shed and the new arrivals. They're frail, so feeding starts with them. Fortunately for Ray, the morning's menu is a simple one. Hundreds of litres of water will be heated to 55 degrees centigrade. When the water is up to temperature, simply add a bag of milk powder and mix. Ray started with an old washing machine to mix the powder, but it was too slow and couldn't produce the volumes he needed. And after a few other attempts at achieving an engineering masterpiece, he then developed this state-of-the-art milk processor, which over the morning's feeding will produce 1,000 litres of hot milk that the calves just can't resist.
It's not natural to feed a calf cold milk because its mother doesn't, and if you feed a calf milk at ambient temperatures in the winter, it's not going to promote growth, it's going to use energy to warm itself. We need to promote growth and we want the calf healthy.
In fact, Ray stumbled on the idea of heating milk to 55 degrees quite by accident.
What happened to me was this got away on me, but one morning got up to about 65 degrees. And I took the milk over to the shed and the steam was coming off, and I put my hand, I thought, well, that's a bit hot. Well, anyway, I put it on the whale and see how it went, and they loved it. And in the winter time out there in the paddock when it's cold, we're jumping over each other to get to it hot. And so yeah, I mean, it might be unique to this. I don't know of anybody that feeds milk at 50 degrees plus.
After the ingredients are thoroughly mixed, it's time for an additive Ray swears by. It's a formula based on aloe vera and manuka honey, and Ray measures out what will be the equivalent of 5 mils per calf.
I've been using it for 3 years, and I mean, in wet conditions and that, you generally get the bugs and actually you get scouring. I mean, the first thing we do with a calf when we bring it home from 4-day-old from its mother is change its diet. And any animal subject to scouring, it doesn't matter whether it's a calf or a cow. It's like the spring feed. If you change an animal's diet, it's prone to scouring. So I believe that it really helps settle the gut, and it's a natural product. If you've got a calf that needs to be on antibiotic for any reason or another, the manuka honey probably makes the antibiotic twice as effective. I mean, Manuka's been used in hospitals where antibiotics don't work.
Scouring can occur even in adult animals, particularly when their feed is changed. It can result in harsh diarrhea, which leaves the digestive tract open to infections. In young animals, tackling the problem early is critical.
A calf can go downhill overnight with dehydration. It can start scouring in the afternoon and tomorrow it can be dead. They can go downhill that quick.
So how hard is it to get the newly arrived calves used to milk served up, well, really quite hot? Good quality feed, in this case milk powder, is not cheap. Dry feed in the form of meal pellets is much more economical. And of course natural grass grazing even more so. So Ray's balancing act is both one of economy to get his youngest animals through the milk drinking stage as quickly as possible, as well as encouraging the natural process which enables young calves' digestive tract, called the rumen, to adjust over time to a completely dry food diet. But for now, do these little guys like their milk? Of course, there are a few problems with an all-milk regime. What goes in one end is going to come out the other. And if that happens too quickly, growth is impaired. So as well as the hot milk breakfast, each pen is provided with troughs of a substance called sodium bentonite, a highly refined clay which acts as a kind of brake on the milk passing too quickly through the stomach, as well as soaking up all sorts of bugs in the digestive system. At the same time as Ray is feeding his youngest charges, there's lots of talking and touching. It's a form of bonding he feels is important to a young animal's sense of well-being. And a happy calf is a growing calf. Ray is on the constant lookout for anyone who seems unhappy. There will always be the odd boarder who seems to be out of sorts or not appearing to thrive. They get special treatment. A neat dose of the Manuka honey and aloe vera formula. Considering the sheer volumes being consumed on a daily basis, it's no wonder there's a sense of relief at seeing some of the older calves begin completing the transition to dry food. Helping to bridge that dietary gap is the provision of dry meal pellets. The delivery of which is the next stage in the morning's proceedings. Once again, the amounts of meal involved over the season mean storage of silo proportions. Calf feeding over for another morning, but there is one more vital chore before Ray can think about his own breakfast. Hygiene. Every utensil and farm implement used during the morning so far is meticulously cleaned. And that's not just a quick rinse either. A strict protocol of cleanliness is the foundation of disease protection, and only after that's been achieved can Ray think about his waiting bacon and eggs. There is still plenty of morning left, and it's time to get back to the calf sheds for sanitation operation part 2, and ensure that these youngest calves get their playtime and a good dose of sunlight and fresh air. Apart from feeding, almost everything Ray does in the calf shed is part of his constant war against the bugs. First comes a fresh layer of shavings, followed by a good sprinkling of antiseptic powder.
In the past I've often used a spray called Virkon, and it really kills the bugs. The difference between this and the spray I find is that this is like a powder. It actually helps dry out the pens, but it also reduces smell.
One of the commonest sources of infection is a simple one, the water supply. Young calves consume enormous quantities of water, and Ray has drinking dispensers that are easily cleaned and replenished. The attention to the water supply also applies out in the paddocks. Particularly in wet weather, the calves tend to drink from surface puddles, a great source of contamination. So there is a daily check for dips and depressions, which get filled and levelled with a load of pumps. Out here there are plenty of other sources of bug contamination for the unwary. Feeding troughs have to be weatherproof, rodent-proof and particularly bird-proof. Ray's fight against disease is a constant concern. This year spring has come slowly to the Kaimai foothills. There has been a higher than usual rainfall this year. Ray's herd of calves, by now all out of doors, will have had to have used valuable energy simply keeping warm instead of putting on weight. Despite the onset of warmer weather, there's plenty to keep Ray on edge. With October comes the acid test of how well his animal management program has worked, because it's now that early calves get the top price. He already has a fair proportion of his Friesian bull calves pre-sold, but there's one catch. They each have to weigh at least 100 kilograms. With a deadline looming, Ray is casting a frequent and anxious eye over his paddocks, assessing which animals might be ready to go.
Well, there's always a concern, of course, that you're going to get those early calves that you're contracted for the higher money. You're always a little bit nervous, but I mean, at the end of the day, I guess you've got no control over the weather. In saying that, I was pretty confident that I'd have the calves ready because I have in past years, but it's always just that bit of unknown. You know, you've had the wet weather and other calves doing as well as they were the season before, but you know, I've never missed a contract yet, so I guess it's just experience, and you've done it year after year.
But ultimately, it's the scales that will reveal success or failure, and that means, with the help of Ray's wife Anne, it's time for a roundup. Using ATVs certainly helps, but indispensable for herding is a simple plastic container filled with stones. It doesn't take long for weighing to reveal pleasing results. There's even the odd grumble when the weight is well over what is needed.
115. 15 kilos too heavy. Cost me a fortune.
111.5.
This season I've contracted 300 Friesian bulls. 50 of them were contracted from the 14th of October till the 31st of October, which means those 50 calves have to be up to 100 kg to go on contract within that 2-week period. This is to fill a contract of 200, so we've got basically 3 more weeks to get the balance of the order out, and you know, we'll do that easily now. The weather's warmed up and you will easily do it.
This is a busy time for the nation's fleet of stock trucks. Ray's shipment is all ready to go. Loading the calves not only represents a final chapter of a hectic few months, but also signals the nearing conclusion of another successful financial operation built on years of experience. With every shipment, there is a sense of relief.
Every season's the same, I think. For me, I look forward to seeing them coming, because you sell them off and then you have a period where you've only got a few animals just grazing. So when the calf season's getting closer, I look forward to them coming. But then after I've sort of looked after 700 of them, I'm probably pleased to see them going. Oh look, I've looked after these guys. I guess at the end of the day, I know that I'm rearing them to be farmed on. The satisfaction for me is to get a calf to this state in this period of time, a good healthy calf. At the end of the day, the purchaser of these animals is really happy with it.
Ray is as choosy about the purchases of his stock as he is about the dairy farmers who supply his calves. An important part of his job satisfaction is knowing that his stock are going to good homes, and he'll even visit to check up on how his mates are progressing. For the moment, Ray is at the stage where he can spend a bit of time nattering farm talk over the fence. There's some breathing space ahead, and then another calving season will be here, and the whole process begins again.